really is. Because Pacquiao-Bradley wound up just like the first two. But as that fight approached, the more at least the more I thought about it, I thought, maybe it's a better fight than I gave it credit for when it was made. And I'm starting to feel that way about Canelo and Khan.
All right, last one. If Khan gets the upset, does he vacate the title, move back down? Does he jump in there, keep it rolling, and fight Golovkin?
I'll tell you exactly what Khan does. He's a prize fighter, and he's always been this way. Khan doesn't duck. Whatever is the biggest fight that can be made for the most money, that's who will fight.
What about tonight's action, man?
What'd you think? You liked it, didn't you? But as I said before the fight started, this is the first round of the NBA playoffs. The NBA, you know exactly who's going to win the first round of every series, especially with the top 4 seeds, right? So here's Triple G, and everyone came out to watch Steph Curry, but Kawhi Leonard's not in the other corner because they're not up to that round of the playoffs yet. So until he gets Kawhi Leonard in the other corner, until that time, you're going to know before the fight starts who's going to win. But it doesn't really stop you from watching Steph play, right? So it hasn't stopped people from watching Triple G either.
Did Chocolito show up, and is he ready for Gallo Estrada rematch? Looked like it wasn't
yeah, I think Chocolatito would be favored against anyone 115 and below. Inoue is eventually his biggest fight. I don't think they would make that fight yet. If you were handling Inoue, wouldn't you want to wait until Chocolatito's a year or two older and your guy has a year or two more experience? So if I get the sense that if Chocolatito's side thought they could make that fight soon, they would.
Everyone's kind of seen Canelo Golovkin taking down the same path as Mayweather-Pacquiao, the same scenario, prolonging it, to maximize.
I would say this. Jim asked me on the fight game, what's the expiration date? I mean, there's no real expiration date. We still watched Mayweather-Pacquiao years after the expiration date. But I would say people can genuinely start complaining if Cinco de Mayo of next year comes and goes and they still haven't fought. Then you can start complaining at Canelo. But I do think that if you're Canelo Alvarez and you're generating all this money, and there's the biggest threat by far is still he's a major attraction, obviously, but still hasn't proven a pay-per-view attraction that can do 500,000 buys or more. Obviously, you'd like him to build up a little more, and you'd like maybe to take a few more money fights before you risk it all. And by Canelo, I don't mean Canelo. Canelo doesn't care. I mean Golden Boy, because they're running a business over there, and if you have a meal ticket, you don't just throw him in with a guy who'd be favored to beat him. You'd like that guy who's favored to beat him to build up his star as big as possible, and you'd like your guy, meantime, to cash some paychecks on the way to that happening. So I would say all that is fair game. If you know the history of boxing, that stuff always happens. If that process goes by Cinco de Mayo of next year, then fans have a right to say, yo, you're ducking. That's enough, you're ducking.
He's the ace. Shouldn't Golovkin cater to his demands? I mean, is he not?
Those are all negotiations. This is something when people first started hearing Floyd and Pacquiao going back and forth about that, everyone heard that as, recently before the fight, everyone heard that as bad news. I heard that as negotiating. Look, they're talking. That's better than not talking. And when you hear Triple G and Canelo start 157, 150 this, what's happening is a negotiation, and that's good news.
Do you think the WBC will actually strip him if the fight doesn't happen next?
Yeah, I do. I think they're boxed. I think they have to. What's that?
Where is the limit to A-side advantages when we're talking about a 155 pounds?
If you think this is A-side advantages, look throughout boxing history. It's not like it's worse than it's ever been. If anything, like Sugar Ray Leonard won like 16 titles the night he fought Donnie Lalonde at a catch weight. I mean, that stuff has always happened.
With Golovkin having a shortage of opponents, Kell Brook kind of threw himself in there. What do you take to Golovkin Brook at some kind of catch weight?
If Kell Brook really wants to fight Gennady Golovkin, I'm sure that can be arranged. I'd be shocked if Gennady's side didn't want to fight him.
What does Gennady do to get a fight?
So it's a great fight.
What's that?
What do you make of the 155, 160 in terms of the example it shows other fighters coming out?
For who? Who are you talking about now?
Canelo.
Well, here's the thing about a catchweight fight. A catchweight fight is fine. There have always been catchweight fights too. This is not like something new. every generation like forgets what happened before, or maybe they don't know. Catchweight's fights, it's not like that's a brand new term. What I do agree with fans who are angry about it, though, is that the middleweight division is defined as weight limit 160 pounds. That's a middleweight. You can weigh less, but you can't weigh more. But if in the contract it says you have to weigh less than 160, you're not fighting at middleweight. That's not a middleweight fight. If the contract stipulates you can't weigh 160 pounds, by definition, that's not a middleweight fight. So, and therefore, Gennady Golovkin now has practically universal recognition as the real champ in the division, because the other guy and the guy before him, Miguel Cotto, weren't fighting at middleweight.